Yes, people, earlier than usual on this Friday evening settings, and that is for good reason, because if you're local and if you know, it is the official World in One City 5 draw tonight for the tournament that starts in June, end of June into July, and it will be the award show as well. So your boy is on hosting duties, so in about an hour's time, I will be making the mad dash across Liverpool to get into the city centre to host some award nights for some amateur football tournament stuff. Good stuff, good vibes. A couple of the lads here can attest to the quality that goes on in that tournament year in, year out, and the effort that everybody puts into it. But I've cooked up another panel tonight for everybody chilling in, locking in at home, whether you're on a drive home or whether you watch this on a little bit of a playback. I've got a belter show lined up for us tonight because, look, the established order have started making movements in this transfer window. Big moves are happening, but it's not always just about us. We have to cast an eye to see what the rest of the chasing pack are up to. It's in our vested interest to keep an eye on what they're doing in their business, because we want to know who is pushing us close, who is going to catch up to the likes of a Liverpool, the likes of an Arsenal. Is it going to be City again? Is it going to be Chelsea? This show tonight, we will unpack all of that as best we can within the next hour. But as always, I am joined with my Cartel panelists. I've got Connor in the building. I've got Tom Little in the building. I've got Aaron back again. Thank you very much for your time, brother. I've got man like Greg in the building. I've got Sheik all the way from the USA logging in with us. Probably a sunny afternoon, mid-afternoon now. Are we touched down mid-afternoon UK US time?
It's like 9 a.m. It's 9 a.m. currently. Yeah.
9 a.m.
morning.
Oh, early morning. So it's wow.
Early morning.
You the West Coast then?
West Coast. Yeah.
West Coast settings. Okay, so we even got West Coast settings in the building. But yeah, I just thought, let's do the show tonight. Let's run it because there's still been so much activity going on. It does almost look like the Vitz deal is done. It's Florian Fridays, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to go to the ops first and ask, are you lads worried when Liverpool rise the bread for a player of this level of quality? Does that send shockwaves to the rest of the league and the chasing pack? Let me know your thoughts, lads.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak up for first off, like obviously big up to everyone. Thank you for having me on, Errol. And yeah, I mean, when have we seen? I mean, consistently, I've been speaking to Liverpool fans for years now, and it's been like this thing where FSG don't spend and all those type of things. But that whole thing this season has just gone out of the window because I think you've made a very, very big statement in terms of positions that you've signed for. Verts obviously being that, big record transfer as well. It is worrying, of course. Like, I'm not going to sit here and try to be shameless as a United fan and say it's not worrying that my ops are going out there and getting, the best of the best players, but it is worrying. And it looks like currently at this moment, you're favorites to win this league title again. And not just a league title, but this is going to be, it could be years of dominance, and it could be, European dominance. It could be a lot of different competitions, and it is worrying for sure. How it's all going to turn out, of course, because there's going to be big expectations for Verts when he does come to the league.
Can I just interject there?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, obviously because of the transfer fee. It's like we've had players.
Okay, can I interject one more time? Sorry, and this would be anybody that was giving me those answers.
Yeah.
Chelsea have spent 100 mil on an Enzo and a Caicedo. Arsenal spent 100 mil on a Declan Rice. City have spent 100 mil on a Grealish, albeit Grealish played a part in a treble-winning season. Yes. The expectations only ever seem to apply to Liverpool when Liverpool rise the bread. Is the sense that I get from opposition fans from time to time.
Well, no. I mean, again, just to not be too shameless either, when have you guys really risen the bread like that, So it's like that, again, it's one of those type of things where all of us have been judged. I personally have had expectations for players that have had, big signings. And I get it. It's valid. It's the market is crazy right now. The valuation of players right now is absolutely insane. I mean, you can look at our club and how much money we've spent on players in the past who haven't technically worked out, and we finished 15th this season and all that type of stuff. But I think it's just expectations because one, like simply just the fact that if you have to go out and win this league again because you're signing a player of this quality, you've spent so much money on him. And that's really what the expectation is. For me, the expectation is not so much GNA. I'm not looking at a specific number for Verts to get this season, but I'm also just looking at in terms of the team itself, the attack itself. because you're adding a very, very quality player who has been playing well for Leverkusen, who's won a league title with Leverkusen in the past too. And I know German league is a lot different than the Premier League and all those type of things, but it's that expectation that you would expect the team to be a lot better, the attack to be like better to a certain extent. I still know Liverpool have to go out there and get strikers and a lot of other positions. Like Luis Diaz looks like he's wants to leave, or you need to replace him. Darwin Núñez, all those type of things. But the expectation is more so that I just want to see how Wirtz does perform in the Premier League. That's more so the expectation of how the team itself is going to look, how the attack is going to look. I've said this before regarding last season. I don't think Salah produces the same number of GNA that he had last season. Had an absolute insane season. And now if that does dry up to a certain extent, not saying that it's going to be absolutely terrible for Mo Salah, but if it does dry up, then how does Wirtz help out in that situation? How does Wirtz help out in terms of the team and again in the attack? And that's what my expectations are. But it's just we've seen it in the past. Like I've had players like Paul Pogba at my club, and there were expectations from him every single week. I mean, people wanted him to score this many goals, get this many assists every single game. And it's just one of those type of things for me personally. But again, I'm not looking at a GNA. I'm not looking at a number specifically. I'm just looking to see how he can impact the team and how he's going to impact Liverpool going forward. And that's really it for me.
Okay, I can understand the logic of that. That seems like sound reasoning, and I get it. You know, as a rival, you're gonna have to say, put your flag to the mast and say, yo, I'm expecting him to move the needle for Liverpool. Like that's just a given. We did the same for Paul Pogba. Definitely done it with Declan Rice. I was one that said Declan Rice has to be transformative in the way that Virgil van Dijk was for Liverpool. He has to improve that side to the point where they can be not only deemed challengers, but they can become winners. We're yet to see that, but it's not to say that it couldn't still happen, and it would still be a good deal because I still think he's a good fit for Arsenal. Aaron, I'll come to you dead quick with it. Yeah. Are you worried, because you're somebody who obviously wants Arsenal to make the right signings this summer and you think it's important that he's make the right signings, but do you think that Liverpool have already got this level of business under their belt means that we have moved that bit more further forward than where Arsenal currently are at?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Look, I'll definitely hold the Arsenal stuff. I'm sure we'll do it a little bit, but for Liverpool, yeah, this is how I see it. Right, there's always, like, I think in history, you see it on numerous teams where there's pivotal moments. Yeah, and I'm going to take it back last year for you guys. It hinges on one or two things. There is also a reality where Klopp leaves, phenomenal manager, Slot comes in, and it just doesn't work. There's also a reality where then Salah goes because we finished third instead of first. But that wasn't the reality. You didn't spend a lot of money only on Chiesa. The reality is you made them decisions to bring a Slot in. Slot tweaked. He done a few bits. Salah had a season that got the best out of him. Van Dijk got the best out of him, and you won a Premier League. Because of all of that, these decisions, the correct decisions, it turns out to be the correct decision. You got to a cup final and a Premier League title quite easily. The Premier League title, to be fair, by far the best team in the country last year. And it's them sort of moments where you think, all right, now we've got Premier League. Yep, you let go of Trent, whatever, but you replaced him instantaneously. Fantastically replaced him, I think. So that's cool. You're making signings. You notice Robertson's not quite what he was. Tsimikas ain't going to be starting. You want a little bit better. You go and get Kirker's job done. And then obviously you got the Florian Wirtz coming in, who I always reckon that with Ozil to Real Madrid, I reckon that signing's going to bang. I really, really, really do. When Ozil went to Madrid, it was unbelievable, and I think Wirtz is going to come in and do the same for that. But then you build on that success. Salah then wants to stay because you're champions. You got Van Dijk that wants to stay because you're champions. And guess what? You've got a lot of money to spend now because you didn't spend anything last year. It's all looking quite rosy, and you ain't done. And I want to save this for the Arsenal bit, but you're going to get a striker, and you've got players to sell. And I've looked at your wage structure, and you've got players like Diaz on 55. We've got Martinelli's on 180. We can't sell our players because we've handcuffed ourselves through high astronomical wages. You've got sellable assets. And I'm telling you, there'll be a
out the door. And one thing I'll agree with you there on, Aaron, as well, and the Liverpool lads will attest to this. We sell good. Like, I know your record transfer fee is still Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. How that is a thing is ridiculous.
Errol. Jarell Quansah.
Go on. Hit me with it.
Quansah for 40 is crazy.
Jarell Quansah would be Arsenal's record signing. Or Arsenal's record sale, should I say.
Yeah, it's not been.
See the levels,
mate. Before that, it was Overmars was still one of the records.
No, Anelka.
Nicholas Anelka, that was 23 million. I think 21, 23. That was the Real Madrid. Overmars was 27, and then joined him with a T for 30.
Transfer market
man.
has Anelka down as your second highest sale ever, and that was in 1999. But
Yeah.
think of all the great players that you had: Henry, Vieira, Perez, even more recently Van Persie. None of them went for over 40
Someone
mil.
from my behind me, bruv. Yeah,
Yeah.
but they all went for pennies. He retired. Patrick Vieira went for 15 million, and Sol Campbell left for Notts Forest or wherever it was. Ridiculous. But that's a whole nother thing. But look, we're Liverpool, man. Like, it's from when you look at the outside looking in. Look, you're our rivals. We were a little bit better than you last year, but to no avail really, because we didn't win anything. And then, like me, I put my hands up and on my hands up. I thought to myself, maybe you'll be in the picture. I'd never rule Liverpool out, your Liverpool Football Club, but I just thought maybe it would be us in Manchester City. And egg on my face, it is what it is. You turned up, we didn't. And now the summer that you're having, and this is what the frustration bit about my club is. You're top of the pile, and this is what Alex Ferguson done very well year after year after year. When you're top, you push even further. And Liverpool are moving like a proper big club, man. You're moving like a big club. You're moving like a big club because you're replacing players. You're building on it. And everyone in number 10, you know, everyone that wants a 10 would pick Florian Wirtz, and you got him. You got him because you're champions. It's as simple as that. You've got heritage, obviously, but you know, if we won and we needed a number 10, it'd probably come to us, you know, because that's what these players want. You know what I mean? They're playing for the champions now. You know, you've opened up a whole different market for yourselves, man, as well as being Liverpool Football Club and as well as having all of that to spend. I'm more fear to see who else you're going to bring in at the end of it. It's worrying who you've brought in now already. We're in a 20th, man. You could be bringing in a lot more talent than that. You getting an Isak in, and I'm just Control Alt and deleting it, man. Wake me up next year, please. Come on.
Oh yeah, Liverpool get
doing
Isak.
here?
League's finished. Forget about it.
well,
It's over. Everything's done. Like everything's finished.
Honestly, bro.
Yeah,
That-
everything's
I think
finished.
Skepta said that's a shutdown. Is that what? I'm sure that was the buy.
It's
Yeah,
just-
and it's a
man, we're just
shutdown.
Skepta,
Yeah.
man. It's a
I
shutdown.
might just
No,
follow
genuinely.
an American sport. Baseball, NFL, I'll just join one of them, man. I'll just not watch football. Till
Hey, the
season's
F1's
get
turned
here.
itself back up, hasn't it? The F1's looking good at the minute, man.
That's it. Yeah, I'll just do an F1 podcast or something. Why not?
Oh, definitely. I'll go to the Liverpool lads before I come over to Connor. Boys, we speak, we've had conversations, and when you're deep here, on the surface, it looks very good. But I'm thinking from succession planning now, there looks to be a new crop of players that are now going to be bedded definitely within this first team that are going to be ready to compete for major honours while still getting the nurturing and the experience of some of the old heads to guide them for the next 2 to 3 potential years in that sort of transition period. So what we had drawn up last season as a period of transition for Liverpool almost is kind of turning into a potential for dominance if we play our cards right. And again, obviously, a lot of good things marry up on the pitch. Would you say that's fair to say?
Defo. I mean, I think this is how an ambitious club works. You've got, you know, Salah and Van Dijk. I think we both know they've got 2 years left. They probably won't get a new deal after this contract. So the football club should be doing everything they can to maximise what we can achieve in this 2-year period, whilst we've still got the best centre back and the best as forward. But what we're doing by getting in the likes of Wirtz and potentially an Isak and a Kerkez and potentially a Guéhi and a Frimpong and all that, is that after those 2 years where we've been hopefully really successful because we've got Salah and Van Dijk and put the right pieces around them, once they depart, the guys that have been the supporting pieces, you like to see Wirtz, you like to see Isak, you know, even though they'd still be big pieces, Salah is still going to get the accolades and Van Dijk's still going to get the accolades because of the standing. But when they go, the likes of Wirtz and the likes of Isak, just that they step up and become the new faces. But instead of being 33 and 34, they're 28 and 24 respectively, which means they've then got 3 years and God knows how many years at the very top. And then you can just start the whole process again. It's about having a good succession plan. It was the one thing we didn't do last time we were at the top. We didn't do a proper succession plan, and it caught us out multiple times. Now it seems like we've learned from that mistake and we're getting the succession plan put in place.
What do you think, Greg?
I mean, Tom's got a spot on there, really. You know what I mean? I think what we're doing this window is what we failed to do after we won the Champions League and after we won the Premier League. You know, the business that won us the Champions League was done after Kiev, and then we used that same squad pretty much, and we got on to win the Prem. You may think, oh, you know what? If we maybe added another big addition in after the Champions League, we probably would have maybe gone on to do the double. especially because of the COVID year. One, you know what I mean? But we didn't, and ultimately we only end up with 1 league and 1 Champions League. Obviously, the season after that, we don't need to go into it, but that is a result of a lot of lackluster kind of, preparation. Obviously, you can't prepare for every single player in the defence to that magnitude. You know what I mean? You bring up players from the academy, and then they somehow break their toe.
Break down as well. Yeah, it's mad.
But the fact that we still didn't really have some sort of a plan until the last moment of the transfer window shows a lot. We were happy to kind of just be there and do the odd occasional win or the odd occasional trophy here and there. But times have changed. I think obviously that was maybe down a bit to Klopp. You know what I mean, with his loyalty of players. But this is the slot here now that we're talking about, and it seems that we did the same with Feyenoord, didn't he? I think he came in for the season, stripped the entire team, brought in about 7 new players, and then he went on to win the Dutch league. So, he's done this before. I trust him to do it again, and hopefully he's the Paisley to our Shankly.
And I think as well,
into the future.
I think the board have got that trust that you've done it without. We haven't given you much resources, and you've worked with what you've been given. Now, when he's got the leverage to say, back me, let me get players that I think I can get an extra 10-15% out of, again, that are already performing at a really high level. And all right, the possibilities could be endless. And again, it's stupid to say around and say, yeah, we're going to win the quad or we're going to win a double. But with Van Dijk and Salah being both in their big contract now for the next 2 years, that means that the impetus is to win now. What that looks like is, again, anybody's guess, but their desire from the first whistle that gets kicked off on, I think, August the 15th, 8 p.m, it will be about, we set out the standard that we are here to win.
I mean, they have just pulled the Boston Red Sox. They have like sacrificed the Boston Red Sox to fund this whole thing. So we kind of got to get something over the line for them.
Yeah, smoke that America. No, sorry.
Can I have something in there as well, boys?
Yeah, of course.
There's an example, about, like almost having, not a contingency plan, but like sort of building and not just standing still. And obviously that, you've got a couple of aging players and then sprinkling younger players around them to just carry on the torch. Yeah. You look at Real Madrid and they do it very, very, very good. And here's an example of their midfield. They had Toni Kroos, Modric and Casemiro, all aging. What do they go and do? Well, they've still got 2 or 3 years-ish left. They bring in Bellingham, they bring in Tchouaméni, and they bring in Camavinga to come in, all young midfielders, and just go, do you know what? You are going to learn off the very, very, very best at the very best. And you're going to have all of this experience all around you, and you're going to filter you in. And then when them lot finally move or they finally retire or they do whatever, you know what it means to play for this Real Madrid, and you've learned around quality. And that's what you guys need to do. And it looks
that's why I want to keep Robbo, by the way. For everything you've just said there, that's why I want to keep Robbo. And I don't know what the other 2 lads feel about it.
Just sell Simicast for it, because there's no point in having obviously free.
If it was me, that would be the business that I would be looking to kind of coordinate. It would be Simicast, because I want Robbo. Kind of the way we had a Milner for a period of time, and it was just... Everybody knew he was the model professional, and he set the tone for all the young players looking up, being like, there's no fucking about because Milner's about. I want that same sort of wisdom and experience in this squad still. Not to say we'll be devoid of it, but I think Robbo is still he's a big voice in that dressing room and within that squad.
It depends on if he's happy with that role.
And that's true. Yeah, Milner was very happy. He was able to
I don't think Robbo, at the point in his career where he's at, and considering the club that is in for him in Athletic, I don't think he's going to sit there and go, I'm all right. I'll ride the bench for a year. I think he's looking at it going, I either ride the bench for a year and then probably either get a very reduced contract because I'm not the first choice, or get let go on a free, or I just go live it up in Spain for a couple of years, playing for a good team in Athletic, getting a good wage. Like I think I don't think he wants to stay, considering Kerker's coming in. I think that's how he's going to think. I think like,
I could understand if that was his rationale as well. To be fair, Connor, I will bring you in because I know you've been sat patient on this one.
Yes,
you've heard obviously the thoughts of Liverpool fans. You've heard the thoughts of Aaron, Arsenal, Sheik, obviously Manchester United. Outside of us as a cartel, what other team in terms of the business that's being done at this moment in time, or have you kept your eye on that's making you think, okay, it's not just going to be Arsenal and Liverpool vying for it. X team are now going to get themselves back into the cut.
The only one really looks like City. To be honest, from my opinion, I think there's a couple of places where United can add to if they get the attacking options they're looking for, where they can start to bring themselves back into the fold. But I don't think it'll get any higher than maybe 6 this year.
Okay.
But if they got that attacking line, like if they got hold of a striker, like a good striker, obviously they got Cunha and they're going to be getting, they're still fighting it out for Brian and Mbeumo, and they can add like strong, solid defenders. Maybe they can start to get themselves back into it. City's transfer window so far has been an absolute joke, just like yours. They just got in. They knew what they wanted. They got it done for good money as well. Like, not like what you guys did for Vlers. He is a great player. We discussed it. That's crazy money. They've managed to go and pick up theirs for absolute peanuts in comparison. Do you know what I mean? But other clubs, there's not a great deal of business actually being done. Really.
Okay, so then let me ask you this. Then let me rephrase it. Then, as an Arsenal fan, does that put you at ease a little bit more that maybe your transfer hasn't got the same pace as a Liverpool's or City's, but you're in keeping with the remaining pack of the Premier League? So the Newcastles, the Chelseas, the Spurs of this world. Because do you know what I'm saying by that?
Yeah, of course. No, a little bit. It does a little bit. And like what you was asking previously about being worried about the business that you guys have done so quick, I don't think there's anything to be worried about. I think there's stuff to be frustrated with in comparison. Very frustrated that business ain't been done. But in terms of you guys as a team next year as well, like, what are we worried about? You're just going to have another good season. You're going to be another team that's going to be tough to play against. Again, you're going to finish within that 80 to 90 point mark. Like we should be going for if we don't have the injury hit season we have, like you did a few seasons before and your points dropped significantly. Other teams have had it and have fallen off. It's more of the same. Do you know what I mean? And I think actually next season, if once all these transfers go through, your team is a little bit weaker than this year because Frimpong's great, but he's not, as much as you lot hate him, he's not as good a player as Trent. All round, he's got a couple of years.
Did you watch his debut?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to pick up on that. Kirkes is not as good as Robbo. Kirkes is going to be very good. He's not as good as Robbo.
Couldn't they Robbo?
Huh? I said Kirkes isn't as good as Robbo.
You're comparing Kirkes now to what Robbo was back in.
Robbo now is 4 years since he had.
My nostalgia of that amazing Scottish man that brings sunshine and joy to every single Premier League fan. And in midfield, like Verse is going to add this sort of dynamic. Yeah, exactly. You don't have, but is that now gonna is that mean Sobbo's going to be hitting the bench? And McAllister has to drop back. Do you lose something from McAllister then?
That's just you see what systems played really, innit? Because for all you know, like Advert can be played as a false 9. You know, like you don't really know what's
it'll be hard to play Vert in the 9 when we've got Isak up there.
You know what I mean?
But I think the business that you and City have done very, very quickly is almost like a slight anomaly this early in the window if everyone else is still not even just in this country, across the board, across Europe. You've got a couple of signings here and there, but no one's done business as quick as you two have been able to do so far this summer transfer window.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of an anomaly because it's not even like Liverpool are in bidding wars or just fancy a player or just like linked. It's literally advanced talks. Liverpool are in advanced talks with Kirkes. Liverpool are in advanced talks with Frimpong. Liverpool are in advanced talks with Florian Wirtz. And all of a sudden you're like what? Let me take a minute to process all this information because where does this came from? But I think there's a case for, as frustrating as it was last summer, we've had a year to prep. The guys above the orange slots in Liverpool have had a year to really flesh out a plan and execute it, get a real lead in time, figure out what it's going to take to get these players. So when you're actually knocking on the door, you're kind of showing them exactly what they want to begin with. You're not kind of testing the water and feeding them out and seeing if you can lure them away from a club. It's pretty much, this is on the agenda. This is what we've got to get done. As a result, him, and him. Can we go and get the deals done? Let's have those concrete conversations from now. And I think Liverpool have, and that's not to say that can work every single year and giving yourself a year off from doing it, but Liverpool had to capitalize on the momentum that the team built on the pitch last season. In terms of the wider Premier League impact now. Someone's just put in the chat there, don't sleep on Newcastle. Chelsea will always burn through money. I don't know how they managed to do it, but they will burn through money and put players on massive ass contracts.
That's because they are women's teams themselves.
Well,
they're
currently linked with, is it Gittins and a potential for, is it Kudos that they're also linked with at the moment as well? How far are these other teams away from it? All right, forget Liverpool being the anomaly, but how far are they away from being serious contenders? And again, what we all really want to see, whether you like it or not, last year is great from a Liverpool perspective. I've wanted us to piss a league for as long as I can remember, and it'd be dead easy and be relatively mediocre in the process of doing it, whatever that means, relative terms. How long is it going to take before we end up with a really competitive top 3 or 4 again? That it could go to the last day, and instead of that Champions League position we found ourselves in a couple of weeks back, that could be the top 3 all fighting for 1.2 points goal difference for the league. Who do you think is?
You could have that top 3 this season, though. I just think in terms of making it a top 4 or a top 5, you're a long way away from that. Chelsea are still a top keeper, a top centre back, a top right winger, and a top striker away from being close to going, you know what, they can mount something. Newcastle are a good 5 years away because financially their club isn't ready because of all the rules
to go toe to
consistently pay all the fees required, which is why I've been saying with the Isak thing, they might have to make the sacrifice along the way to build the Champions League squad to get in there for a couple of years to build up the revenue streams in the same way that we did with Coutinho. In terms of Tottenham, I'm not including them. United, there is so much work that needs to be done with Manchester United before I even talk about them being in top 4, let alone title. I think Arsenal are not a million miles away, but if they get Sesko, it's not moving the needle at all. City, they've fixed the big problem.
Because Aaron looks like he's nodding and agreeing to that. Aaron, I'll come to you in a sec. Do you genuinely not think Sesko can be a difference maker for Arsenal as a 9?
I think Benjamin Sesko is just Slovenian Nunes. Everything I watch about Sesko.
Put some respect on Nunes' name, bro. I know. This is where we differ, but put some respect on Nunes' name, bro.
What's the one thing Nunes cannot do for the life of him is show composure and finish. But he can hit when he's on it, he can hit a ball well. Nunes has a good strike on him. If you watch his comps, there's a couple of long shots in there. He can hit a volley occasionally pretty well. But his comps very rarely have him through one-on-one, taking a breath, picking out the corner. True. Go watch a compilation of Benjamin Sesko's goals for Leipzig. They are either scrappy deflections, a header, or a long shot. Out of the 32 goals he scored for Leipzig, 3 of them are good finishes. But Arsenal don't need someone who's going to wrap it from the edge of the box into the top corner. Arsenal needs someone who, because they create an abundance of chances, is going to sit within the confines of that 18-yard box, be given half a chance, show the composure, show the quality, pick out the corner, make it 1-0.
We've already got Declan Rice to wrap him in the top corner.
Unfair. Aaron, do you agree with that assessment of Sesko? Does he not move the needle in your opinion, mate?
No shit. Absolutely crap. Let's just be blunt with it. Let's just be blunt with it. And
we can wrap the show there, ladies and gents. Don't need to nail over.
Roll credits.
And I'll tell you why. So in the last 3 years, we've obviously been linked with Gyökeres, and also for some reason prefer Sesko, and so do most of the Melt fan base as well. Yeah. So we've got 3 years, and I think that's a fair comparison to go by from a player. Yeah. So he was in the Austrian league in the 3rd season. 16 goals, cool. Then he went to the Bundesliga, 14 goals. Then he went to the Bundesliga for last season, obviously still at Leipzig, 13 goals. 1, he's regressing. And 2, 13 goals. What does that remind you of? Oh, yeah, in the highest seasons that Kai Havertz scored for Arsenal, 13 Premier League goals. What about Gabriel Jesus? What was his highest scoring? 15? Oh, yeah, 13 league goals. So what we're effectively doing is we've waited for under 5.5 years of Mikel Arteta, 5.5 years to sign a striker. We haven't replaced Aubameyang in 2.5 years, and you're telling me we're going to spend 80 million to replace 2 13-goal-a-season strikers with a 13-goal-a-season striker. That just tells you everything you need to know about the way Arsenal operate, the way they deal in the transfer window, and why I'm so frustrated, because I'm not even surprised. It's ridiculous. This is what I don't get about our fan base here, boys. Like, Errol, like, why would you want Gyökeres? They act like he's 37, he's 27, he's in his prime years. Granted, it's in Portugal, but let's get it right. He was in Austria, and he was, you know, not knocking the Bundesliga, but it's, you know, it's still the Bundesliga. So what we doing? He's got 89 league goals, by the way, Gyökeres, in the last 3 years, and Sesko 43, and the fan base are just like, yeah, but you can't really sort of say that either, my bang. Factually correct, yes. None of us have got a crystal ball here, but you know, all of these bookmakers that have made billions upon billions, how do they make their assumptions? Through statistical history, and they make an assumption on the likelihood of what it's going to go for next. Who would you rather put your mortgage on to get 20 goals for Arsenal next season? The geezer that scored 89 goals in the last 3 years, or the geezer that's got 43 goals in the last 4 years? It's not rocket science,
3 years,
is it?
it's 2 years.
Yeah, but the 89 goals is just the league. It's just the league I was sort of referring to. Yeah, but he's obviously got more in there. But
with
man,
Coventry as well.
It's madness. The stats don't lie about things like that. But we obviously are going in for the wrong one, isn't it? It's not good enough. It's as simple as that. And you know, I agree with you, man, when you're saying it is frustrating, but I disagree with you. There is a little bit of a cause for concern. And I'm not just isolating it to this transfer window for Arsenal Football Club. Over the last 5.5 years, when it really matters, and in particularly last season, when we finished 2 points behind Manchester City, with a very pivotal window, we're going to act like Liverpool this year. We're going to act like Manchester City this year and kick on because they finished where they didn't want to. What did we do? We signed Calafiori, who's absolutely crap and can't defend and play him out of position. And we signed Mikel Merino, one of the worst Spanish midfielders ever at the club. And Mikel Arteta was a Spanish midfielder at the club. How does that push the needle? And what are we doing this year? We're watching all of our rivals, you guys, and Manchester City going out and going, do you know what? Yeah. We're going to build on from our Premier League title. We're going to stay in it. And Manchester City are like, wow, we're going for a trophyless season for the first time in 16-17 since Pep's got here. We need to do something. Oh yeah, they spend 400-500 million in 6 months. What do we do to try and push on? We're like, oh, well, we don't really know if we want Sesko or Gyökeres. Tell you what we do. We'll sign no one until we try and think. It's ridiculous. And everyone always says, oh, it's only the 20th of... Calm down. It's only the 20th. Not only the 20th for you, though, is it, boys? Not only the 20th for Manchester City. We forget that, though. We're not moving like a big club. Are you worried about Arsenal next season, Liverpool boys? Of course you're not. Come on. You're not. The way we're behaving now, of course you're not. You're not. It's fact. Because we're nothing to worry about.
I'm just concerned about what we're doing. Do you get me? Like, my thing is, I will always look inwards to see.
Come on, you know it. You know it.
Do you get me? Like,
you're not worried about Arsenal nicking your title next year, Errol. Come on, you're not at the minute. You're not.
No, not at the minute. No, I'm not. But that's not to say that Arsenal can't make serious improvements to their overall squad because they're going to need to. Let's be honest. I think this is the season where Liverpool have managed to do this, even if it hasn't always been successful over the last couple of years. We've always been. If there's the desire to do well in any competition, Liverpool will go for it, whatever that competition looks like. Arsenal now no longer got that luxury to just handpick. We're just going to go for the league or we're going to go for the Champions League because you've bust both times or 3 times that you've attempted to do that. You can no longer have this entitled, we're too good for the Carabao, we're too good for the FA Cup. You have to build a squad that could potentially win every single of those competitions, no matter how far you get in them all. Sheik, I'll ask you, based on what Aaron's saying at this moment in time, Manchester United, as much as I like to take the piss, that was an anomaly season. I can't see you going back-to-back 15th. Like, I just don't see how your fan base, as big as you are, would accept that. There has to be improvements on the pitch. Do you feel that you can close the gap, though? Do you think that and when I say the gap, I'm not saying jumping from 15th to 1st. You're not going to try and go and do a Notts Forest in any capacity next season. But do you think you can start to build 1 game a week from now on? Do you think you can build the team right this time round that can give Amarin the tools he needs to at least start to make an impression that, yeah, Manchester United should be considered serious again?
To be honest, currently with everything that's going on right now, I don't think we do, anything major this season. I think top 6 is a very, very far reach. There's been some United fans who've just been saying top 6 just with Cunha coming into the club, which I still think there's going to be a lot of problems that we're going to have. We still have to, get deals through the line, which we are. I know it's early. It's still like June and stuff like that. We still have to go through July and all those type of things, but we still have to get a lot of deals through the line. Everyone's putting a lot of emphasis on this attack, But I want to put a lot of emphasis on this midfield, because this midfield that we have currently and the way that we set up the midfield with this double pivot and all that, the players that we have right now are just not good enough. Like Casemiro is aging. We can tell he's aging. He's about 33 to 34 years old. Ugarte ain't good enough. Like, we got Ugarte from PSG, and PSG won a Champions League. It's no brainer from that. Like, their midfield right now is one of the best midfields in Europe, and Ugarte was sold, and you could say we funded, part of their midfield when they signed Joao Neves and all those type of things. Our attack is still miles off it. I mean, we still have Rasmus Højlund at the club. We still have Garnacho at the club. We still have Mason Mount at the club. We still have a lot of these players who needed to be sold. And one of the biggest things is we should have cashed in on Bruno Fernandes. I've been saying this, 100 million. No one was out there going to pay that amount of money for him. We keep hearing it all the time that we need to sell players.
It's the Saudi problem, though, bro. Same thing happened with us. We wanted to offload Nunes to Saudi, and getting the appeal to certain players, it's just, that's not for me.
Yeah.
Even
I mean, for his situation, like, I get it. It's, I think it went down to like his family, and he didn't want to relocate somewhere like that. And I get all those type of things. Like, it makes sense, but it was life-changing money. I think the money that they were offering him was absolutely insane. It was about like 20 million in like some crazy numbers anyways. But my point is that we should have used that to, I mean, it would have been an ideal situation for us to have 100 million sitting there, and that we can just, try to reinvest. And my whole model of the players.
Do you think funds are going to hamstring you this summer?
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, we have to make sales. It just looks like the way that we're moving right now is we're heavily reliant on sales. So they told us that, or we heard reports that, the Cunha deal, even the Delap deal, when we were in for Delap before Chelsea got him, that it wasn't dependent on sales. And, we paid about 62 million for Cunha, which was like his release clause. We put one bid in for Mbeumo, and then all of a sudden we just haven't put it. To me, it looks like we just haven't put any other bid at all. And it makes no sense to me, because the second bid that you would put, I think the 45 was plus 10 million was the first one, 10 million add-ons. So you would think that you would just put 55 plus 10, maybe, or 50 plus 10, that's just a step up, but they haven't done that at all. And it doesn't kind of make sense to me what they're waiting for, or they're actually waiting for to sell players, or what the whole situation is. That's why all these intangibles and all these, ifs and what's going on, all these like things up in the air, just don't make me think that we're going to do quite a lot this season. I'm going to be so honest. I don't even think Ruben Amorim stays in 2026 with considering, the problems that he has. In the way that he sets up his team.
We still have a lot of sack another manager, bro.
I mean,
surely not.
I've been saying this though. Like, I think a part of what United needs to do, because another thing I'll tell you is, how the conversations of, Ruben Amorim needs quote unquote his players. Some of these players that we're linked with are not his players. They're proven players. They're club signings. They look a lot like their club signings. They look like a lot like their players that can be here and play in a system when he's gone as well. And I think they're kind of preparing for it. And I've been saying this, like, just based off of his results, because he's had an absolute abysmal, run of games when he did get here. Consistently playing players when the league was not much for us to salvage for, consistently playing players week in, week out, ruining any sort of confidence that they had, and doing worse than Ten Hag. Like, that's the reality, is that he did worse than Ten Hag. And our fan base, including myself, we slated Ten Hag for the seasons that he had, only delivering an FA Cup towards the end of the season after having an abysmal Champions League campaign and having an abysmal Premier League. And we've outdone that this season. We've actually gotten worse than that. And for the past 2 years, we've consistently been regressing. Every single season we've been regressing. So I think in terms of like the board, everyone needs to wake up. Omar Barada is coming out here and talking about, I think I can see this team winning a league title by 2028. Brother, I'm going to be so honest. I don't think we're in the Champions League by 2028, like with the way that we're moving. So it's one of those type of things where we have a lot of work to do. We have to get a lot of players out, like a lot of wages need to be cleared. We still have to get rid of Sancho, Rashford, Garnacho. Onana looks like he's on his way out. Like, it's I know it's crazy how things have changed, but this is just, reality of what it is. And
Paul in the chat's just made a very, very good point, and it's very pertinent that, and it does sound like us back in the, the early noughties to an extent.
You know what's going to be an issue for United as well? And I'm not trying to be horrible when I say this, but when you're saying about you need to sell players to fund some of the players that you want to come in, nobody wants your players at the moment.
I don't think that's true.
They want to get rid of. Go on.
No. So what you were saying isn't completely wrong, but the way I would have put it is, nobody wants to pay the wages for the players that you want to get rid of.
That's what I wanted to say as well. Yeah.
Yes, but a lot of the players you want to get rid of, it's almost like help the homeless situation. They've got no one else to go, so who's going to take him in?
I
Who's
understand.
going to take Jadon Sancho? Who's going to take Onana? Who's going to take? Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not like previously where you had even just going back.
But
Like
the wages that
Madrid.
Sancho's on are mad as well, though.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, all of
Because
them.
you could see a
Rashford,
Newcastle,
all of
you could
them.
see a
Like-
Newcastle or Aston Villa, dare I say a Spurs. If it was modest wages, they'd still see a potential in that player. They'd still think we can get the Dortmund version of him if we just wrap our arms around him and make him feel like the star boy, so to speak. It's just the wages, just all of us. Nah. Like there's better value for money in the market than the headache that comes with Jet and all of the other things that are all attached to you as a
It's
player.
Champions League wages, isn't it? And for Europa League players, that's what Arsenal are doing.
It's
That's what Man
Yeah,
United
no,
are
Europa
seriously,
Conference
that's really
League
what
at the
it
minute.
doing.
That's really what it is.
Right. And it handcuffs us.
We've had this issue for like quite a while now. I mean, to be honest, with the amount of money that we've spent on so many players, like we had Lindelof and Eriksen, who just their contracts just ran out, and they've been at the club. Like Lindelof specifically, he's been at the club for ages now. I mean, it's almost been about 6
Was
to
he a
7
Van
years.
Gaal signing or a Mourinho?
He was
signing?
a Mourinho signing. He was a Mourinho signing,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not like he was playing week in, week out. Just sitting on the bench, getting that money week in, week out. And we've had this issue, and I mean, we've had this issue since Sir Alex really left. The way that our club has worked and the players that we've signed and the amount of money that we've just spent on absolute scrubs, like spending 75 million on Rasmus Højlund, how much ever we did, I think is the biggest crime that anyone could commit in football. Like genuinely. Spending that much money on an unproven player who's not done anything at all, to be honest. Like he had one good season, or I wouldn't even say that was one good season.
Yeah.
He went 0-16, and then this year he went 0-20. Like these guys are just consistently getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I just think it's even though like it will be difficult for us to get rid of some of these players. Some United fans become accountants and talk about how much profit we're going to make. I think we're past all those type of things. I think we just need to get them gone. That's the biggest thing, the biggest issue currently at this moment. Don't care about how much money we've spent on them and how much we can get back in return. The biggest thing is we just need to get them gone. And then that's where I'll actually feel like, okay, the club has no other option but to actually rebuild this team when you get a lot of these guys gone, because we're going to have that issue again where we let two attacking players go in January in Rashford and Antony, and then we struggle to score goals and we struggle to have any type of just fill spaces in our squad in terms of the attack. And we had to bring Cheeto in, and we had to bring all these young players in, and I think some point later in our time it will get to this board that okay, like there's nothing else that we have to do other than rebuild the squad, because the manager has just no options currently in this attack. Though I'm not going to lie, like I am impressed with Mbeumo and Cunha just right away. I think whoever we do get in terms of a striker, I've been saying this, go out and get someone like Mateta, because you're putting quality players around him. You're putting Cunha and Mbeumo around him. And I think instead of us spending 100 million or whatever that transfer fee is for Ekitike, go and get two Prem-proven players from that. Go and, get a midfield, because right now we're not in a situation where we need to make a jump like Arsenal, or we need to make a jump like some of the big clubs to start competing and start challenging. We are literally in the depths of hell at this moment. We need to get out of those depths of hell by getting just simply back into the top 10 and being some sort of, having some sort of identity and playing some sort of consistent football. And I think you can do that by just getting a couple of Prem-proven players. So and I think that's the way that we need to move, because again, we finished 15th this season. So we're competing, as crazy as it sounds, we're competing with the likes of like West Ham and all these other clubs. And that's where we need to get out of. And we'll see what happens. But right now, like, again, I don't know why this Mbeumo deal hasn't been done yet. I think it's been taking way too long.
And
in between,
and trying to throw a spanner in the waist. One thing I will say, go on, I'll let you finish your point, Sheik. Go on, finish your point.
I mean, the Spurs thing too, like, if we end up losing out, like, if Mbeumo ends up going to them, again, we have nobody else to blame but ourselves. We're just taking way too long with this deal. Like, the players made it absolutely clear that he wants to join us. And obviously, the manager's gone there. So there's a little bit of favor there where Spurs are willing to pay that transfer fee to Brentford. Spurs are willing to probably give him the wages that he wants. There's also Thomas Frank there, which is his manager that he's worked with before. They're providing him Champions League football. All these things do favor that. But even despite all those things, he still said he wants to come to us. So make it happen. What are you waiting for? Like, it's just one of those type of things where I just don't get it.
Okay, well, just before we go into and we transition across to what everyone else is doing, just want to just kind of got a couple of hundreds in the show at the moment. You're locked in the building. Thank you, Josh Owen. Scoot Isaac, he says, let's get Alvarez and Gordon. Thank you very much for the super chat. The thing that I will say though, to Sheik's point, Man U, we said there about Man U not having to necessarily make that jump, but they just want to be relevant again. They want to be back in the conversation within the top 10 with a cohesive style of football that they can identify. Okay. Their approach to doing that, if he goes and gets a Mateta type signing as well, would be to poach some quality players from the Premier League. That, to me, is a sensible model. So that's the question that I've kind of got to ask for the rest of you guys now. Strengthening yourself whilst also weakening one of your rivals is a good way to start leapfrogging people up the table. Liverpool, the most obvious one that we're kind of assigned to at the moment, would be Alexander Isak. Us taking Isak, as you guys said, skip the settings, it's a shutdown. Liverpool can be crowned Premier League champions for 2025, 2026 if we get him over the line. Also, at the same time, by weakening Newcastle's stock. All right, they might have money to spend. They may have to rebuild in a certain sense. See how Liverpool did it after Coutinho. It's not to say that they will be bad forever, but in the here and now, in the immediate future, they are going to have to take a little bit of an L and hold it. Who around the league, lads, if you guys were now sitting in your boardrooms, if you was having conversations with the likes of a Berta or a Barada or even a Michael Edwards and whoever else it might be around the table, who in the Premier League would you be pipping to pick and fill in holes in your squads that you've currently got to not only aid your season next season, but to weaken an opposition as well? I'll let you have a minute to ponder it, and I will give you mine. So I
don't think we can.
Go on, Tom. Yeah.
I don't think we can take much from like our direct competitors. There's not. I don't necessarily think there's many Arsenal players that A would be available, but B I would take. Same goes with City. If I was looking in the Premier League, I'd definitely take Isak. I'd really look at Palace for Wharton. I think Wharton's probably the best you can do it for DM, which is I think the only other bit of a gap that we've got on our team, a proper ball playing DM, because Gravenberch, as good as he has been, he's not a passer in the sense he likes to dribble out and run with it, whereas Wharton can play left foot, right foot, long, short. That's really the only one I'd be taking. I mean, goes to show how strong the squad is, that there's not really many others.
Okay, no, that's fair. I hear it. Greg, from a Liverpool perspective, do you agree with Tom, or is there another player in the Premier? It doesn't have to be direct rival in Arsenal and City, by the way. But again, weakening Newcastle just means it's one less headache to worry about when you're looking for top 4 spaces, ultimately.
I can't think. Like, genuinely, it's just, it only would be Isak, innit? Do you know what I mean? I mean, you could make the argument for maybe Rice from Arsenal, just taking, Arsenal practically got nothing in the midfield there. Do you know what I mean? There is obviously that argument. But, like, other than maybe them two, like, I can't really, like, you know what I mean?
I'm trying to think of a winger. I'm trying to think of a winger for Diaz. If I could genuinely have one and pick one. Everyone's going to say Gordon in the chat. I've seen Gordon in the chat before. My only thing for Gordon is I just wouldn't want to pay that money for him. The money that Newcastle are going to want for him, I just wouldn't want to pay 60, 70.
I mean, the only reason I want him was so he could score against Everton, but he seemingly can't do that anyway, so why would I want him?
I should have asked him when I saw him the other day.
You should have.
I've seen Gordon, right? You know, on Hope Street, some pizza got flagged literally like 2 weeks after that Newcastle.
Outside the quarter, right? The little blue one.
Yeah. I seen him, and I was like, oh, lad, I need to say something about that Nunes thing, but I bottled it, lad, and I hate myself for it every day. It was disgusting. I should have said something.
I saw him, but he was with his mum and his brother, and I was like, I can't. Just leave him be. Let him eat.
Yeah, let a man live. All right, so Liverpool's maybe a little bit harder to definitively go and grab somebody that's going to improve us and damage other rivals to an extent. Aaron, from an Arsenal perspective, you're in the boardroom right now. You're having conversations. You know exactly how much money you've got to spend. Which team are you giving your dagger in and saying, yeah, man, we're going to hate you? And which player are you taking? Or players?
Yeah. I mean, it would obviously be slightly unrealistic, but I would just completely hammer Newcastle. I wouldn't try and get Isak. I'd try and get Bruno Guimaraes, and I'll get Gordon out. Nick their left side, because it will also need a good left 8. Also need a winger on the left-hand side, and also need a striker.
How much do you think that's going to set you? No. We're in a hypothetical world right now.
Over 300 million. It's obviously unlikely. It's 150 probably for Isak in its own. They ain't letting Gordon go for anything around 80s. Bruno's going to be the same thing. It's unrealistic, but in an ideal world, I would completely savage them. I reckon Arsenal Football Club would be in fantastic shape if they had Anthony Gordon and Bruno Guimaraes and Isak in there. I'd be sat on here as a completely different person. I wouldn't be confident of winning it here, but I tell you what, I'll be like, boys, we're going to be competing with you. That's how I'd be. But you know, you haven't got that quality. You know, when you've got a top striker, a top midfielder, and then you know a very good winger. I won't say top, because he needs to do it a bit more, but.
You've got options. Well, that's what I was going to say to Sheik then before I asked him is that's what Sir Alex Ferguson used to do back in the day. Am I right in?
Yeah.
Well, then run it, bro. You say it better than me. Go on.
No. Do you know what I was going to say that because when Sheik, is it? Sorry if I've just said your name wrong there, bud. When you said about that, Alex Ferguson, he'd done it with Dwight York, Andy Cole, Sheringham, Robin van Persie. You know what I mean? He'd done it to a lot of Premier League players, and not just in the striking positions, everywhere. That's what he'd done. He just completely raided Premier League players that were proven. And I don't know why you'd sort of moved away from that marker really for Manchester United. It was such a winning system. They were unbelievable at doing it. That's what kept them there. He elevated them, didn't he? He took either players that were knocking on the door of being great, and he just lifted them. I mean, Eric Cantona from Leeds is another one of them. You know, there's probably plenty if you sat down and thought about it. And I'd like us to sort of do it. You know, we sort of do it, but not to the extent
we had a period. We had a period of doing it. Southampton used to be that feeder club for us, where it was like, right, you've been there, you've proven it, you're Premier League proven. Now's the time for that big step up. Sheik, you've probably got players there now, or the ones that you're identifying are probably ones that you hope bring you closer to being back in the fold of that top 10.
Yeah.
Would there be other players that you think, right, if we could land them, it takes us right back into the mix? Champions League football conversations. Yeah. Who in the Premier League is for you the players that Man United should be at least targeting then?
To be honest, again, just, you know, considering our situation, I just don't think we have the funds to go out there and get these players. But in a dream ideal world, of course, like some from Newcastle, Sandro Tonali in the midfield, I would love to have a player like him at our club, considering how our midfield currently is. There's Morgan Rogers at Villa, who I think is a level raiser currently in the Premier League. Like, he adds so much to the attack in terms of their team too. So there's a couple players out there here and there where I think, I think if you do end up getting guys like this, you can make a little bit of a push. But right now, where we are, considering, let's say if our season does go to a certain extent where we finish, let's say around, you know, in and around 6th place, you know, we competed for a trophy or we tried to win a trophy or whatever, we even won a domestic trophy, then I think you do that the year after that, where you go out and get those type of players. And another reason I do want to say is that it's not just because, you know, obviously these type of things have worked and we've done this in the past, but another just simple situation is that if we go out there and get system players for Ruben Amorim who can play a back three or can play, you know, all those type of things, and let's say we end up sacking him, so now we're going to be stuck with players who can't play a system of the next manager who they appoint, and we're just going to be in cycles and cycles and cycles of this again and again and again. And that's why I feel like it's very important that, and I think it's good that the club are trying to make club signings, that I can see Mbeumo, Cunha playing in that, you know, left 10, right 10 position, but that if we end up going to a traditional 4-3-3, I still see them there. And it's one of those type of things where that's what's most important, because they need to start thinking about all these things. I mean, they've gotten managers wrong for a while now, and managers haven't really worked out here for a while now. And I think they need to stop going from the model of let's go get the players managers and, you know, whatever players there. I think some of them can be those type of situations, but not every single ideal player should be a manager system player. I think you need to go out there and actually get club signings. And a lot of clubs do that. And that's why they have been successful to a certain extent. And that's what we need to start to do.
Chris Smith in the chat here makes a valid point. And I think post-Fergie, it did feel as though they did go Man United, change its models to let's get some internationals, because it then did help the corporate side and the share sale side of things. I think that's
why we signed Ronaldo when we did. And I was against it at that time, as much as I love Cristiano Ronaldo, legend of the club, of course, but that's not who we needed currently at that moment. And we ended up signing him for shirt sales and like Rashford, giving them all these big contracts, making him, you know, the figure. It set us back. Yeah, it did.
Because you actually had a good thing going with Solskjaer. I did think he needs to change the manager, but the style of play, ultimately, it's the style of play most teams play now. He was a little bit ahead of the curve on that front in terms of just trying to dominate in transition. And you bring in Ronaldo, and then you can't do anything in transition, and he kills your press.
Yeah,
but you're the season before that.
The season before that was the last time that we touched over 70 goals in the Premier League. with the attack that we had with Cavani, Martial, Rashford.
I was gutted just
Greenwood.
got Cavani.
Like-
I was. I'm not gonna lie.
He's a top
Like
player,
it's
Cavani.
that's the last time that we touched over 70 goals, and it's now we're getting just. I mean, we finished with 44 this past season, and this is just it tells you all about everything. So I mean, it's stuff like that where I actually I agree with Tom Little. We had something going for us currently at that moment, and we messed it up by going out and getting a veteran Cristiano Ronaldo who. Yes, he gets you goals and all those type of things, but it's not in terms of what we needed in terms of the team, and we set ourselves backwards. But we're here, and this stuff happens to clubs all the time. There's been a lot of times where clubs have gone through certain eras of dominance. Clubs have gotten through eras of just not being good enough, and I think we've entered that era now. It's just very, very clear. But you can't just sit there and expect tomorrow morning you just wake up and everything's going to be okay. You have to actually go out there and do the work, and I think that's what's most important for them to do here is start rebuilding. Yes, we've gotten the rebuild wrong, the previous one. Well, under a previous regime, the Glazers were 100% owners, but now Ineos have come through and all these things that they've talked about. And you want to make this, new stadium and all that type of stuff too. You're not going to be able to do all these type of things and sell and have money for it and all that with investors if you're going to be performing like this on the pitch, because on the pitch is what matters the most. And that's why you've been cutting a lot of losses because of our on-pitch performances. So start from there. Start rebuilding the club from there. And baby steps at this point. That's what I've said. I mean, we can make pushes depending on how we do this season, this current season. And we can make a push for, some of the bigger players in the Premier League or some of the bigger players in the world the season after that. But start somewhere by getting us to a level playing field, like I've been saying. And I think that's really, really important for us to do currently at this moment.
That's so level-headed because I know I speak to obviously the United fans over here, and boy, they just don't have that and I don't know whether the distance makes it a little bit easier for you to just kind of decompartmentalize it and things and just say, this is how it needs to be for the betterment of the club. When you're so much in the eye of the storm, they're just like, this guy takes us back to the top and we're in it. And it's like, bro, calm the fuck. That one piece, you've got to build the whole mosaic back from scratch because it's already shattered into 1,000 pieces. Connor, I will just ask you very quickly before we wrap up.
Yeah.
This is one I'm half gutted that I've got other commitments because this is a real one of those views that I could have just ran for another hour because there's so much to unpack. And I've got people saying, Martin Sullivan saying, Vert is being announced at 6. Well, Martin, the main channel will have something out for you at 6 o'clock because I have got evening commitments tonight and I can't stay live. But yes, that will be big news. It is pending. We're 2 minutes away from it. So breaking news, everybody. If you don't know now, you do. But Connor, you've heard what the other lads have said from an Arsenal perspective. It doesn't have to be your direct rival, but are there any teams in the Premier League you want to weaken and strengthen Arsenal at the same time by making their
I've been thinking about it. While I've been talking, I'm thinking about it, and I'll try and get through as quick because I am conscious of the time. I'd like to weaken you guys, but both hypothetically and realistically, all of our best players play in the same position as all of your best players. Seems kind of irrelevant to me. Hypothetically, who would I get if we could? Isak, obviously, Gordon, people like that. Haaland, Marmoush, Doku to improve the positions that we have weaknesses in. Give me 2 more great years from Heung-min Son and just destroy all of Tottenham's dreams and stick it on the left. Give me 2 years of 28-year-old Heung-min Son. Salah done it this year. No one thought he was going to explode like he did. That would be a dream. Realistically,
that is really left field. I didn't see that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That was perfect. That was absolutely perfect.
Fan or not, I love Son. Who doesn't?
Yeah, Son's a G.
Realistic signings that we could get in from teams I don't particularly want to hinder from a Premier League standpoint. People like Eberici Eze, Mateta.
I'm surprised
Chris
nobody
Wood,
said Eze.
I'm
you perspective.
And just completely.
Eze is gun figures.
Because no one hates Palace. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, Eze, Mateta, Chris Wood, Alanga, anyone like that to improve the positions that we have. It'd be great. But yeah, man, give me Son for 2 years. Let him do a Sol Campbell. Come over and just give us 15 goals from the left wing for 2 seasons.
Is that another Spurs captain going to Arsenal?
Yeah, man.
It's right over there, people, right, hanging up on the door, mate. Yeah,
those what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. All right, cool. Now I can work with that. All right, then. Final thought. Then, is anybody else worrying you? And who is the worry at this moment in time? Liverpool fan, as I'm going to say this, I don't think Man City's rebuild is as successful as people just pitch it to be, but they have been the consistent thorn on our side. So the PTSD in me will always say, Man City and what they are doing, they can still continue to spend. They would be the worrying underlying factor for stopping Liverpool's season of dominance potentially. Tom, I'll quickly come to you. And whilst I do, shout out your channels as well, because we'll wrap after this. So Tom, I'll come to you.
My biggest worry that will stop Liverpool from going back to back this year is a thing called injuries. That's my biggest worry. No team scares me more than injuries. So, yeah, that's what I'm worried about. And you can find me, Tom Little, the one, YouTube, Twitter, all around there. I'll be doing stuff for Vert. I would have done stuff for Kerkers, but he's seemingly done everything himself. So there's not really much to talk about with him. And hopefully we just sit there and wait for Gay and Isak.
Connor, Arsenal fan, what's worrying you? And give us a shout out.
Like I said, Connor AFC 89 across all platforms. Yes, Arsenal fan in blue today, but it is Thierry Henry. What's worrying me about this season? Arsenal. Arsenal themselves are worrying me about this season. I've just seen that we've been linked to Noni Madueke and Garnacho. Go home. Arsenal are worrying me this season. They're my biggest concern.
Garnacho and Noni Madueke on the wings. Can you imagine that? That's absolutely abysmal. That's
mad.
You might be the only team that wants to challenge for the title that consistently makes themselves worse every year.
Do you know what I mean?
We got through the stream without saying Madueke. I thought I was going to enjoy the rest of my evening, man. That's just done me, man.
Go on then, Adam. Give us yours and make sure you shout out your channel, man, what you're up to.
Yeah, I'm at
Thank you for joining us.
On YouTube. Nah, come on, man. It's a pleasure to have me and meeting the two new guys. And obviously, I've been there before with you. Have a free pleasure and smash the likes up chat as well and sub to all the boys. Yeah. I think I wouldn't sleep on Manchester City. It all depends how they start because that if once they realise in the league that they're probably not going to win it, I think they just sort of fall away. But if they start well, it's going to be a really good competition. But I think it's going to be a 2-horse race. To be fair, we ain't going to be in it. We'll probably finish third. But yeah, whoever wins it, we'll see, won't we? In about 10 months' time. Big up, man. Thank you very much for having me on, bruv.
Nice one. Thank you for joining us, and we'll definitely have you back on the show again soon. Greg, let people know what's going on. And is there a worry for a Liverpool fan like us at the minute?
So my biggest worry is actually if I'm going to have the finances to go to all the games again, because we're going to take the fucking piss, and trips to Europe are going to get quite, you know what I mean, quite one of them.
Spenny.
So my biggest worry is that I'm going to have to take out a few loans from the bank of my mum. So, big mum, if you're watching, help me with the funds,
big up all the mumsies, man.
Look, I'm telling you right now, we are going to take the fucking piss this year. 3 Wembley trips. 4. Got one coming up in August.
Yeah.
All these trips into Europe.
Money's the worry. Money's the worry, man. All right.
Money is the worry.
Sheik, I know we haven't got that long, lad, and you've got worries for days as a Man United fan, brother. Yeah. But again, I really appreciate.
What are you excited about for this season? That's probably the question.
Ending,
to be honest, whenever it does end. Yeah, whenever it does end, that's what I'm looking forward to already. So yeah, but yeah, thank you, of course, for having me on. Lovely speaking to everyone. I'm not part of these title conversations, and I won't probably be part of them for a very, very long time. But I'm worried about Manchester United. It's always been like that. I've been worried about them for the past 2 years now, and I'm still worried about them. I'm going to continue to be worried about them. But thank you for having me on. Sheik TV is where you guys can find me. I think I'm on the road to 1K, so very, very soon. To 1K,
make sure you sub him, man. He's a solid United fan, and when he comes with that level of rationale, you can't hate on it. Like there's been so many moments you've said things. I just wish it came out of somebody else's mouth because I could literally just actually just go in on them. But the way you package it and rationalize it, it's faultless, man. So people, make sure you are sharing the love, because as I say, everybody around here will keep giving you the content. The least you can do is support everybody's hustle, everybody's grind, because they're doing fantastic stuff, all independent guys, and I love spending an hour with them on a Friday, whether it's 5, whether it's 7. We chop it up, we try and give you some good content, something a little bit different to the YouTube sphere, football sphere. And as I say, we will be back next week. But for me, I got to run because I got things to do. And you will catch me on stage in Box Park in T-minus 40 odd minutes. So I'm literally going to press end stream and then dash out of the way. So guys and girls, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Hope you've enjoyed it. Big up yourselves. Have a blessed weekend. If you're in the sun, enjoy it. Live life good. And we will speak to you again soon. Cartel over and out. Bow.
I'll take her out.